So I'm an official, I guess, healthcare boomer. When you get a senior in front of your title, then it's like, okay, right? Just saying, just saying. But it's been quite a journey. I actually started in the safety net system in Durham. So I walked into Lincoln Community Health Center when I was a Duke Family Medicine resident and just was like, wow. Like, went into the waiting room and it's chronic disease everywhere, right? And little did I know at that time, like, there was so much sickness. And it's like, why is everyone so sick? Like, why can't we have some well people in here, right? Anyway, so since then I helped to start a health center in Wilmington, North Carolina, so lots of North Carolina roots. That's my main market now that I help to take care of. And then I came up to Baltimore, where, you know, this was, it was eye-opening. My family, my parents were kind of ailing, so I thought I would move closer to them and helped a health center in Baltimore, you know, really expand. And we were one of the first to really get into the movement of medication-assisted treatment. We had a lot of innovation in our health center as well. So, long story short, went into, oh, look at you guys.
Yeah, I don't need it. Yeah.
Wow, right on. Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
somebody walked out with the advancer, the clicker,
The clicker.
Okay.
so we need one.
I think you should do a big announcement over the PA system for the person.
Everyone check your pockets, please.
Exactly. All right.
Just give me a second, I think we can make this bigger.
Oh, okay.
If I can
You're so
find the
talented.
mouse.
So talented.
There you go.
There you go. All right, we can go on, and I'm just rambling on a little bit about my background. I've kind of in the managed care space as well, where total cost of care and all those good things. But the best thing about being in a payer that has Medicaid as a major service line is I get to see the flow of money in very challenging populations. And so that was really, really cool. And here I am. So now I'm with Aledade, and I do support a small practice, independent practice. We helped co-found a primary care location within a 500-bed faith-based recovery center known as the Helping Up Mission. So we brought healthcare to the population instead of having them navigate the system to come to us. So that's probably one of the proudest things. It has since been taken over by a hospital system, though. So anyway, we can go on. We're not going to do this. This is we don't have enough time. We'll keep going. Keep going. All right. This is what I was going to go through today, and just kind of look at independent primary care. That's really our sweet spot in Aledade. We are working with some hospital systems now. But most of our bread and butter is actually the Medicare Shared Savings Program and independent practice. And I think the linkage here, which I'm really fascinated about, is that we're working with AHEC. We have 2 AHEC programs in North Carolina. And so talking with the faculty and really trying to, you know, bring our residents and our learners into this value-based care space instead of like kind of carving it out, like we're protecting them. I'm like, why are you protecting them? This is what we were signing up to do, right? This is primary care. So, okay, so then I just want to adapt to the audience because I'm not always sure, like, you know, who's in it. So, okay, we can go to the next one. And I'm so sorry I have my back to you.
No, don't worry.
This is like weird. Okay, so I always like to kind of, you know, just sort of set the context, and we know that there is a lot of waste in the healthcare system. And here's a fun fact. Like, it's not just $1 trillion anymore, it's even more than $1 trillion. Annually in healthcare spend. Like, that is more than NASA's budget since its inception. Isn't that unbelievable? Like, you know, trivia, but not so much trivia. And I think what's really, I don't know, it's kind of tragic that we spend so much money towards illness and disease, and we will spare nothing, right, towards all of that end of life spend, when we can be going more upstream, right, and spending more in primary care and keeping folks well. Like, let's go upstream and like stop the people from jumping in the river, and then we're ending up like near the waterfall trying to rescue them, right? And so I think this is such an important issue and why primary care is so essential in trying to fix this. And not only do we have all of this waste and spend, we can go to the next one. Nobody's happy, right? I mean, let's face it. Patients are not happy with the healthcare system. Clinicians are not happy with the healthcare system. Payers are not happy with the healthcare system, right? So it's all broken in all these dimensions. Data is a mess, we know that, like interoperability, like what? You want me to go into another portal, right? And when I was with the parents, like, you guys realize that on my computer, I've got like 8 different tabs open. Because you want me to go into your portal for this, your portal for that, and then I have my EHR, of course, right? So the complexity is mind-boggling. And then, of course, there's all of this fragmented care. And I'm sure we all have relatives who have had just these weird healthcare experiences where you're like, what happened? So I think we have a lot to do. And of course, a misaligned incentives is I think, one of the key opportunities for primary care to really step into this ACO and value-based care space. And so it's really a message of optimism, because our learners, you, will hopefully be in a place where we wish we had been for most of our careers. And having been in fee-for-service for most of my career, you know, that's, I think, that's like been burnout. That's been a lot of complexity and fragmentation, and everything has just been a mess. Okay, so what do we need to do to fix it? Thank you, sir. Good timing. Good timing. Primary care is the answer. For every healthcare dollar, y'all guess, how much do we spend in primary care? Hello, thank you for joining. How much do we spend for primary care for every healthcare dollar?
30 cents.
Ooh, you're very generous.
I know.
You're generous.
$5. For every healthcare.
Every dollar.
5 cents.
Yeah, 5 cents. 5 cents of every healthcare dollar. And how much do you think we influence as primary care clinicians of that dollar?
It's 50 cents.
At least 50 cents? Yeah. We influence 80 cents of the dollar in terms of spend. So 80% of spend, we as physicians, primary care, influence. In terms of specialist utilization, right? Procedures, hospitalizations, everything that costs a lot of money. So we're the answer. So Aledade actually was founded by a lot of folks who came from CMS. And so from the innovation center there was this discussion going on, like, how are we going to reduce overall spend? It's not like we're getting what we're paying for, right? I mean, when you look at other countries, like in our health outcomes, it's not great. So we can go on, thank you. So Aledade, this is our CMS. Our friends are saying at CMMI that every Medicare beneficiary is going to be in an accountable care plan by 2030. This is kind of the progression of where we are. It's going to be taking up a lot of hustle to get to where the goal of all of our Medicare beneficiaries. A moment about Medicare Advantage, if anyone's interested. We're seeing a lot of our patients with, the red, white, and blue Medicare going into Medicare Advantage plans. And it's actually not bad. I mean, a lot of our patients will get benefits like they've never seen before. They can get to the gym. I've seen health plans give them sneakers, and for food insecure areas, they're doing some creative things in the Medicare Advantage plans. For our physicians who will be in independent practice, it's going to get tough. It's going to get harder and harder. And so we can go to the next slide. So how do we mobilize for all of this change? And this is the whole accountable care organization concept, right? So in its essence, it's basically a group of us coming together to be accountable for the quality of care of a patient population and reduce costs. So it's one of these alternative payment models, and more I hope our residents or upcoming students will kind of, oh, ACO, okay, which ACO am I gonna join, right? Because I think there is power in learning in a community, and I think that's one of the coolest things that I've seen in our ACO work. Okay, this is just sort of a concept slide. I wasn't sure who was gonna be in our audience, but I wanted to make sure that folks kind of understood this idea of where does shared savings come from? If this is an alternative payment model, and we're still submitting claims for the patient care that we're giving, right? What is this shared savings business? And basically, the easiest way to think of this is from a household budget standpoint, right? So if you think about putting together your household budget, and if you spend less than your budget, then obviously you have something to save, right? So translate this to the patient panel that any primary care clinician has. And each of your patients,
This one advances.
oh, thank you. Each of your patients basically has kind of like a spreadsheet, if you want to call it, or a big dollar sign on top of their head, okay? And that's their healthcare anticipated cost, what we call the reserve for care annually. And how do we determine that? Okay, how do we determine that? And this is where our academic friends, we can really lean into teaching our students about having an accurate problem list. She's nodding over there, exactly, right? It's like, and the way I convey it to our independent physicians now is your problem lists are a mess. Like if your attending saw your problem list, it would be a problem, right? And that's what we see is the only way that we can set this benchmark is through our diagnosis coding, right? So what we submit on our documentation that goes on a claim that goes to the payer, some of those ICD-10 codes actually have what we call risk weight. So that's what translates into setting this budget. Some of our diagnosis codes have weight, which translates into dollars, which translates into the patient's total healthcare spend for the year. It repeats itself every year, and that's why we always have to make sure that we're recoding until we can have technology catch up with this. Okay, that would be ideal. Obviously, right now we're left with submitting diagnosis codes year over year. So we set the budget for our patient population. We spend less by keeping them healthy, right? We keep them healthy. And guess what happens? We actually will have some shared savings. So CMS is the oldest ACO program. Basically, they designed it. And what we're doing, and we're very proud of it, not just us, Aledade, but many other ACO aggregators, we're saving CMS millions of dollars every year now, year over year. And what this will help us do is assure that our grandkids will actually have some Medicare funding, okay? So all the health plans will have some kind of version of this. And that green part, it's either full risk, okay? So upside risk or downside risk. And upside risk basically means you don't lose anything if these lines shift. You don't pay anything back to the health plan, okay? In downside risk, if we set the benchmark too low and we spend too much, guess what we pay back? We pay back the difference, okay? So this puts, a lot of skin in the game in terms of how we take care of our patient population. And it's not easy, and that's why I'm my team, the rest of us at Aledade, and there's a whole bunch of medical directors in Aledade because we are a physician-led organization. We're the doctor whisperers. We help coach our primary care clinicians all about how to transition from fee for service, pay for volume to pay for value. And how do we do it? There's no magic. It's a very busy slide. Ignore the outside part. Just focus on this little core 4 TM. And it's really about these basic elements: wellness, quality, making sure that our patients have a smooth transition out of the hospital so then they don't bounce back in. We know this. We need to stratify our population so we know what kind of programs that can be most suited to help them. And we won't know that, again, unless we convey the complexity to our payers through our diagnosis code, okay? And then Care Compass is the use of data to help direct what programs our patients will benefit from. And I tell all of our primary care docs who are in our ACO, if you can master this, you'll be rock stars. And during the pandemic, I'll have to share a story. So our Kansas market is one of our long-standing markets. And while things were in mayhem mess from a fee-for-service standpoint, because you can't bill for patients in a fee-for-service environment you don't see, right? So what happened was when things got really, really bad and it became hustling for telehealth, trying to do healthcare differently, a big check came in from their shared savings program the year before. And it really, really helped sustain them. So fee-for-service kind of lost during the pandemic. Value-based care won because the shared savings that the practices were able to earn from the prior year came in just in time. Okay, I mentioned the upside and downside models. We are so risk adverse. Like, you talk about risk in healthcare, that's like bizarre, right? All right. Okay, just a moment about what hospital-led ACOs and about physician-led ACOs. So those are two key terms that you may hear in other circles, kind of high revenue versus low revenue. I kind of prefer the terms hospital-led versus physician-led instead. And really the essential difference is that the incentives are different, okay? So how do hospitals get paid? They get paid for the services that they render, what we say kind of heads and beds, right? Bed days, specialists, procedures, tests. Are they incentivized to reduce utilization? Not really, right? Like, if we reduce utilization for hospitals and ERs, that's a hit to the revenue stream, right? Now, for primary care and family medicine, we're not going to lose revenue if we reduce utilization. In fact, that just means we're keeping our patients healthy and out of the hospital. That's a good thing, right? So that's the main thing about physician-led ACOs. And what we do at Aledade is we really work with independent primary care practices, small, medium, large. It's that one doc shop that we just love because they need to be in a community, an accountable care organization. Why? If you're a little guy, and I've been a little guy practice, you can't do contracting with the big guys, like the Blue Crosses and the Humanas, right? But by bringing more clinicians together into an ACO, then you have some contracting clout. And we know that this has been proven now, the physician-led ACOs really do much better in terms of shared savings, right? Because of the incentives are aligned. And look at what we're doing for Medicare. The savings per beneficiary from, the hospital systems, they are saving some, right? Our physician-led ACOs are saving more. And okay, just saying that our organization is saving even more than other physician-led ACOs. And I think part of that is our technology, but also part of it is just, we've kind of been doing this a little bit longer than most. So when you're looking for an ACO, they're not all the same. We should be looking at these sort of buckets of characteristics, particularly leadership and culture. And I love that you're in the leadership space. Why? Because what I find is you have a lot of docs we learned nothing about leadership, like zip. Like if you were like a senior, like a chief resident, you know, maybe you have a little bit of leadership, but for the most part, what we're asking of all of our organizations and ACOs, the physician leaders, the physician owners, is come on, let's go, let's own it, okay? You can't delegate this work completely to your office manager. The whole care team has to be involved in the care of the patient, right? So when I have students, I'm like, hey doc, so what does it really mean to be a value-based care practice? And I simply say, it's a team-based approach to improving care and quality. And at the same time, we're probably gonna reduce cost, right? At the end of the day, but the primary driver is that patient care and quality. Health IT, more and more critical, right? Like I said, like we need more interoperability. We need good population health software. Our EHRs, okay, let's just face it, like they were designed to be what? Billing platforms and fancy word processors. So people could actually read our writing, right? They weren't intended to do population health or value-based care. So what you'll be seeing is probably more advancements in some of the more powerhouse EHR systems to do more population health kind of work.
Are you guys working with any particular vendors or new upcoming companies we should know about?
Well, so our population health software program is proprietary, and we work actually with like 90 EHR vendors. So when we sign our partner practices into an ACO, we don't make them change their EHR. We say, we'll meet you where you are, and we'll bring our software and plop it on top of your EHR. And yeah, so we have you know, important care management strategies to help reduce costs and work in a team-based environment. And this is what I was most excited to share with you all. As educators and as teachers and as leaders, we've been thinking about, you know, workforce sustainability. Like, how are we going to get our future clinicians to be more in the space of value-based care? So we're like, well, we just need to let them know that they have a choice, right? And that many of our clinicians, future clinicians, don't really, they think that independent primary care is kind of like old school, is not viable. You're sitting right there and you know that it's possible, right? Are you solo or do you have a partner?
I have a part-time partner.
You have a part-time partner. How's it going for you?
Oh, we need money.
You lose money? Really?
Yeah.
Even though you're working on a very special high-cost population?
So far, I've only been doing it for like 3 months.
Oh, okay, well, you've got plenty of time. Okay.
Come back. Come back.
No problem, no problem. But I have a story about that too. So we've got a lot of big brain, innovative thinkers at Aledade. I love where I work. And one of our divisions is actually looking at helping to stand up independent primary care. So we're looking at family physicians coming out of training, and we're like, do you need help with this startup? Because it's a lot to start up, right? So we can bring in some consultants, and we can maybe give you some upfront revenue, you know, and get you kind of situated and marketing and all that good stuff. Why? Because we want to invest in primary care. Okay, so this is basically it. And if you go on our Aledade.com website, you'll find more information about this program. It's called Aledade First, and I love how they came up with this. We welcome the curious and reward the committed. So this is the kind of phases of this program. So we're gonna give our future value-based champions in primary care, family medicine, a little bit of toe in the water experience, okay? So starting in the second year of residency, we invite some folks to apply for this program, and we'll give you some support and training, practice management. Later on, we'll give you some financial incentives as you, you know, actually do an elective in one of our Aledade independent practices, including, by the way, community health centers. So we have like 39 health centers across the country that are participating now. And then later, we'll help you with job placement. and this is our investment in primary care and family medicine, is we would love for our future docs to join an independent practice. Like our program could help you as you grow, right? So we kind of get some residents working with you, and we give them some bonuses to try coming to your practice, and that way we have this idea of sustainability. So these are just more specifics when folks are coming into, and these are a lot more specifics about the incentives. So, questions?
I think you talked appropriately about primary care. How do you relate to specialists, hospitals, other services?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we want to go back to the data, right? And we want to go back to evidence-based medicine. So we're working with a partner called Embold now. They're looking at claims data, and they're also looking at evidence-based sort of quality opportunities. For instance, our cardiologists, and they're looking at their procedures and how they match up to their peers, and what
So you're providing specialty groups with data.
we're giving the data now to the primary care folks.
Oh, to the primary
first.
care folks, okay.
So this is very much looking at the data and saying, oh, well, my buddy down the street I play tennis with, like he's even better than I thought he was. Or it could be the opposite, where it's like, what are you doing, right? So we're very much in the early stages of working with our specialist colleagues.
But the specialists are still tied to fee-for-service,
Oh, yeah.
fee-for-procedure.
That's right.
So,
So you're curious about what this will look like in the accountable care world.
yeah, is there a way for them to adapt?
Yeah, we're seeing that now in our multi-specialty practices, where
Okay.
the communication between the primary care clinicians and the specialists within their own tent has really, really firmed up, and there's a lot more collaboration around closing colon cancer screenings and things like that. So I'm hoping to see a lot more collaboration with some of our what we call high-performing specialists. So not only are they the nicest to our patients, they're nicest to us, but they do evidence-based medicine, and they don't do ridiculous procedures over and over from a fee-for-service standpoint. So
So it's an evolving relationship.
it's evolving, yeah.
And that's going to have to be very localized.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because we know, I mean, the days where we used to rub elbows with our specialists, that was way long ago, right? So now we have to kind of bring that community in a different way. Yeah.
Is your time there?
Yes?
Okay, thanks. Thank you for showing that chart from the report that we did. I'm Ann Briner with the Primary Care Collaborative.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was really interesting
Right.
when we did that report, because no one had looked at the influence of the patients in a medical home and the ACO and the interaction between them. It just hadn't been done in research, and so it was really interesting to see that docs that were trained in the patients in a medical home, they were the higher proportion of them in an ACO. Those ACOs did better in
Yeah.
terms of hitting all the performance metrics.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Validate. I think you guys have done
Oh.
incredible work to
Thank you.
provide data analytics and capital